Hi, I'm Grace Pateris with the Daily Iowan. I'm sitting here with Glenn, Sonnie Wooden, and Joshua Hawsey. They are both photographers in Iowa City, and they're both University of Iowa students. We're here to talk about a project that they're working on about race and social issues in Iowa City and back home in Chicago. So, if you two want to introduce yourselves and tell us about you.
So, I'm Glenn, Sonnie Wooden, as you said. Chicago's home for me, West Side. I wasn't born there. I didn't live there full time like most people do. I grew up there. I feel like I was more raised, I would say. My family's still there, and I would commute there all the time. It was like a second home. I was just always there. I'm a photographer. Last year of college for me, and I'll be going to grad school in the fall. And Josh and I are both on Port's Photography Collective as well. Yeah.
Josh, like Grace said, originally from the south side of Chicago, born and raised. Always south side, part of course, like Sonnie said, senior at Iowa.
How'd you two meet?
I actually hired Sonnie. Sonnie applied to work at the Daily Iowan, and I think before your interview, you just showed up actually. Like, I think the time we talked was before your actual scheduled interview.
Yeah.
I just ran into him in the DI, and I was like, oh, you're actually dope, and I like you. You're hired. And that was it.
Yeah, I actually quit my job in an email in the library over there at the IMU. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was just like, hey, this isn't working out for me. And then I walked downstairs, walked into the DI doors. I met Brooklyn Castle. She was a DI photographer as well. I was like, hey, like, I want to work here. And she was like, oh, contact Josh. And I sent Josh this very eloquent message, my interview self. And he was like, yeah, I'll be in soon. And he comes in. And we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, okay.
So why photography, and when did that start for you two?
For me, photography started when I was in high school, about 16, 17 years old. I was on a football team. I blew my shoulder out. Went to track. Still bad. Went to swimming. Still bad. I was dating a girl at the time. She was on a rowing team. Joined the rowing team, and I was hanging out downtown a lot. And one of my friends, he had a ton of cameras, and he just gave me a camera one day. And I realized, like, no one was taking pictures of, like, these young kids on a rowing team. Like, no one thought about how, like, old money or affluent or East Coast, like, well-endowed sport this is. You know, that started with these Ivy League schools. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to take pictures, because no one else was. And then from then, I just kind of got addicted to it, and I just couldn't stop.
The addiction component is very similar for me. I was in a journalism class my senior year in high school, and I'd already been taking photos beforehand because, like, my friends had cameras and I had an iPhone. So, like, I was taking pictures, but not, like, on a documentary level. And then Keith Majeski, my journalism professor in high school, he took a poll in class, like, who has a car that I can trust? And I raised my hand. I was trying to get out of class, but he put a camera in my hand, he said, go take photos, and it was instant attraction. I hadn't put it down since.
Now when you take photos on campus or at home, what are they able to tell that you can't in words or speaking?
What are you? I am moment.
I think in high school my photos were more so just like, pretty snapshots, whatever was in front of me. Like, they didn't really say anything. They were just like, boom, this happened. But as I've gotten older, as I've worked more, frames and having Danny yell at me, like, oh my God, I figured out how to tell a narrative, how I frame the photo, how it sets an image. I think it says whatever I'm looking at that moment. I think I try really hard not to put too much of myself in the image. I mean, obviously it's my perception and my take on the moment, but I try to keep it genuine as possible. Like, this is what happened, this is what I saw.
I think for me, it's to be humorous sometimes, but it's also to talk about what you don't see. Like, it's just like, oh, why is all of this here? And no one else there. So, for instance, I'm in Greek life, so I documented the fraternity I am in, and I'm a black photographer, anthropologically taking photos of white, affluent people. And for me, it's kind of funny because it's like they don't see that, whereas I see that, and it's kind of, there's a big irony there. Whereas I feel like I'm this, tourist within their community, even though I am a full-fledged Brothers. I was on exec board. but it's still kind of like I'm outside and I just trying to paint this picture. Or if I'm just downtown taking pictures of people, it's just kind of like, what does it mean to be in this blue liberal enclave in a red state? Yeah.
Without the camera, do you feel like you're on the outside in those groups as well? Or is it just when the camera's in front of you?
Oh yeah, all the time, because I learned like when I was on that rowing team that I was more comfortable with like people like my dad, who was like these blue collar guys who believed they were very big skeptics. They're hardworking, and then their word meant everything. And then I went into this synthetic environment of like crazy amounts of disposable income and nepotism, and I was like, what is this? So for me, I always felt like I was like not belonging there, but I knew I had to like assimilate. And I put the Patagonia on. I was like, yeah, like nepotism's cool, yeah, alright, and just kept trying to move within that space because I know without the camera that I have something to say, but for me, the work is supposed to talk more than I am. Like I don't really like talking much anymore. Like I can talk for days, but I like my work to just be like, go do it for me.
Let's talk about your project. You two have been working on this for a long time now, and it's about a month out before we publish it. So it'll be this video component, it'll be a written piece, and also photos in a slideshow. So why this project, and why is this story important to tell?
This project for me started 4 years ago, 2018, 4 years ago. It started in my uncle's house actually. I went to go see my uncle Kevin, and this is 2014. I was like a sophomore or junior, and I was really getting really into photography. Like it was always important to me, but my family was finally getting how important it was to me. And my uncle put me to the side. And he was like, "You're not no real photographer. You don't shoot film." And I was like, "You're drunk, first of all." But he threw me a film camera, and he gave me a 35mm Canon AE program. And I started shooting my daily life because for the past 3 or 4 years, anytime I took photos for the Daily Iowan, the only access to a camera I had. And I started taking photos of my life, and I started noticing things that, to me, were things I ignored. Things that just part of my daily existence, so it wasn't really a big deal. But after 2 or 3 years, I showed these photos to Adam Wesley, a mentor of mine, and it was like, there's a story here. You need to connect these dots, and it kind of took off from there. And then I ran into Sonnie. He was doing something really similar. He was documenting his life, his anthropological study into his existence in a white fraternity. And it kind of meshed together really well, and it birthed the project.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it was also these ideas of mortality and immortality, and what it does it mean to preserve your family within this like artistic space. When I look back at black and white photos, I don't really see people who look like me, but when I do, I see them again, anthropological studies of like white saviors and things like that, where they go and look at us as if we're an accessory to their everyday life. And for me, that's tiring. So what does it mean to go back home, go to the restaurant, buy the food that you would normally eat, ask to take photos, similar to like Dawood Bey when he was in Harlem. He would be there and taking these photos and like actually caring for the environment, caring for the people there. And I felt like I had to protect them and like just not only protect them but show their resilience, because Westside Chicago is a food desert. Like there's barely any fresh produce there. So, and then I'm also here. So it's almost like I don't have the autonomy to say no to help me. I just have to do something, anything. I'm just trying to do anything. And I'm just grateful to be able to make images. Yeah.
So let's talk about Chicago a little bit. And you're both from different areas of Chicago, but I think you both agree that when you think of Chicago, it's very different than what many University of Iowa students might think of Chicago. So why don't we talk about that and what going home feels like to you?
I'll be hot. I didn't know the first.
Please.
Well, I don't know. So, well, I do know. So I'm in a fraternity. So I'm in like the high class of Iowa. It's like the Greek life dudes, and you're from Naperville, or you're from Aurora, or Barrington. It's like, yeah, I'm from Chicago. And it's like in Deerfield, yeah. And my personal, John Hughes, Winnetka, Kenilworth, Nutria vibes all day. And it's like, that's not Chicago. That's not it. You know, there's like, it's like similar like of what I was looking at with LaToya Ruby Frazier when I started to photograph. It's like Chicago's now inside of me. Like they choose to be part of Chicago. Like my family didn't choose to be in that West Side Chicago. They were redlined, forced to stay away from the North Shore. Because like it's kind of interesting to me that there are no hoods on the North Side. Why is that? The Cubs are there. The beautiful losing team that we can rally behind and say we can do it next year. But then there's this gritty team on the South Side that no one even pays attention to. So for me, it's very interesting that these things are happening. And it's also very tiring to hear, like, I'm from Chicago. When for me growing up, like, it was normal to hear, like, a family member was on Section 8 or so-and-so is buying Link, which is food stamps, from another person. But then they want to come and say, like, oh, yeah, I'm in Chicago. When you take the Metro and bypass the entire hood, you don't even have to look at it. Like, my family, you know, people are getting locked up. My dad's calling me when I'm at my friend's house, and he's like, yo, where are you? And, like, just me picking up the phone is like, good. He's like, when you get home, you call me. I get home, and he tells me, oh, there's a boy laid out behind your grandma's house, which is code word for everyone else is there's a dead body of a black man behind your grandmother's house, and I'm trying to make sure it's not you. So this idea that Chicago is some kind of magical place with this An Kapoor like being downtown is so beautiful, but we don't want to talk about how you segregated the black people and literally tried to kill them, and there's no food. So, and they being the institutions that maybe.
Repeat the question, sorry.
Yeah, so going home to Chicago is very different for you than someone who might live in these north suburbs or the North Shore. So when you go home, what does that feel or look like to you?
Going back home to Chicago is kind of a ritual. It's I'm reconditioning myself to think the way I have to think in order to survive in the city. My dad told me this thing like literally probably every day of my life when I was a kid is keep your head on a swivel, keep your antennas up. This mentality that at all times you be aware of your surroundings, your exits, who's around you, to, you know, in order to keep yourself safe. And it's something I don't do here. I've developed this sense of complacency in Iowa, which I was completely unfamiliar with. I didn't know what complacency really was until I got to, like I knew what the word meant. I never felt it before until I got to Iowa. So going home for me is like it's like preparing for battle, which is really weird. Like I'm conditioning myself, like if I'm driving, if I'm on the bus, the second I step foot off this bus into the Greyhound station, there are at least 20 men in here who probably would rob me because I have AirPods, a MacBook, and a Canon. I'm getting off the bus with what, 10 G's in my pocket basically.
Right.
And I have to think, all right, great. Let me put my headphones over here, my phone over here, take my money out of my wallet. You know, which way am I walking when I get here? Oh shit, my dad's not here yet. Let me walk around this corner so I'm not just standing here looking like a victim.
Don't take too many laps.
Don't too many laps.
You know, take too many laps.
It's just mentally preparing myself like, all right, you know, I'm going back to this place where my safety isn't guaranteed anymore. How can I secure myself? And that's the first thing I think about when I go home.
And it's driving too. Like I forget about it all the time. And like Josh gets in my car, and you know, like the typical thing we do, like we get in the car, we recline back, and like I forgot like that was the thing because I'm at Iowa. And he's like, you know, if you ain't safe if you ain't behind a beam. And the car, you know, every car has that beam. And like that's how my dad drives too. Where he's back here, you know. Like I got an '83 Cutlass, like when I was young, and my dad would like, the seat will always be back. Like we couldn't even drive that thing, but like we would sit in it. He was just get comfortable and lean it back, and it's like, it's just habit. You just do it. It's just like, it's nearly like we don't live there. We survive there. I feel like, at least for me.
Definitely, I am more surviving than living when I go to Chicago. And the driving part is nice because I prefer driving to Chicago than taking the bus. Because when you drive to Chicago, if you take I-80, the second you get to 159th, traffic changes. It turns into Chicago traffic. Cars start speeding past, cutting you off, swearing. It's like, oh, I'm home. Let me get ready. And that is far more comforting to just be thrown into it than I get off the bus and it's like, I've been on the bus with Iowans for 3 hours. Like I don't really believe I'm in the city just yet.
Right.
So is that exhausting transitioning from living here in Iowa and feeling comfort in then going home and feeling like you have to have a wall up?
I was gonna say like maybe like they're both like they both segment something, whereas there might be a wall but here's a fence. I would like to think, because like I can't have this giant wall up because I'm not gonna get by, and I can't scare too many white people, because if I walk a certain way, if I talk a certain way, if I do a certain thing, like they get rattled. It's like, oh, what does that mean? You know, and it's a very tiring thing. Like even driving, like you said, like I've realized like when I get home, I like sit up and I just hit the and I bend the corner, and it's like it's a different. But you can't drive like that here because then you're meeting, you know.
Cutting people off.
Yeah.
Reckless driving.
Right.
So let's switch gears a little bit to thinking about Iowa and your place here. Do you feel like there's a divide between you and other students on campus?
Culturally speaking, yes. Economically as well. I think that being from the inner city, it frames your mind in a way that people that don't live in the inner city would never understand. Like you said, you're surviving. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of beautiful parts of Chicago, plenty of wonderful things. But if you don't live in those neighborhoods, it's not your experience. And I'm fortunate enough where my parents were, you know, not even well off, but middle class enough where I was hood adjacent, where I can see the drug dealers from my porch, but I wasn't with the drug dealers on the porch, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a different mentality. I think that the complacency component is definitely the largest thing for me, because when I go home, that whole ritual of getting back into the mentality of Chicago, and I relish it, because that hunger, that mentality I had to like live in Chicago, I need it here. I'm a better student when I think like that, because when I come here and I'm comfortable, I'm not really pushing myself, I'm not really working.
Right.
I don't have that impending danger.
Right.
It's like in the city, you feel like someone's constantly grasping at the back of your neck, so you're always running. Whereas here, I'm leaning back in a $5,000 chair, enjoying my day.
Yeah, that's very similar to me, because like I left Chicago because two of my friends were shot and killed. Like by the time I was like 19, like two of my friends were shot and killed, and I was like, oh my God, like what? And then I was like, this is not good. So I was at School of Art Institute of Chicago, and I got in. I was like super happy. I'm studying art. You know, there's a museum attached to the school. But then, you know, I would take the Green Line home, and people like, oh, stay downtown, let's work for longer. I'm like, no, it's almost fall, winter, you know, it gets dark a little early.
Stick up season.
You know, I gotta get home, like, you know, I gotta take that Green Line home quick, because I'm not gonna stay out there. Like, it's very odd, like, it's like, you know, your life is worth a lot, and you also know how fragile life is, but then you have so many, like, examples of people who have lost their life, and you're just like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta get out of here. Because, like, I'm first gen. Like, I'm the only one to do this. And if I didn't, like, who knows what could have happened? And it just, it's almost like a constant running. You're just running. You know?
I know you're going to grad school after you finish at Iowa, but do you think you'll ever go back to Chicago? Both of you.
To live or?
To live.
I've been wrestling with this decision a lot because I'm graduating this fall and I'm walking this spring. I wouldn't mind living in Chicago. It depends on where I live. Like I can never go back to the neighborhoods I grew up in. Not that they were bad. It's just I feel like I'm moving backwards. If I go back, I'm going suburbs. I'm going Chatham, Beverly. You know, somewhere where I can raise a family and not really worry about them playing in front of the house. You know.
I don't know, because of the fact that I've always dressed like this. I've always been this kind of person where I was too black for the white kids and too white for the black kids. So it's like I couldn't live in Winnetka because there's like, what I will have to tolerate there is so high, and then what I would have to do if I moved to like Hyde Park, it's like that's not the world isn't just this community. It's a bigger thing going on. So for me, like, I've gone to Atlanta a lot, and it's like that. There's a meme on the internet. It's like, why do black people think like moving to Atlanta is going to solve all their problems? But it's something about Atlanta where like there's so many black people, and then there's also white people there. Where like I feel like they're the minority, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we're here too. We're just here to have a good time, and it's southern, and I have family there too. But going back to Chicago is like, I gotta be comfortable. Like I gotta have some money to go back, because it's too much going on. Like people are just leaving. Everyone's leaving.
Population has been decreasing for 3 years.
Yeah, like Houston's the next city that's coming up over Chicago. Yeah.
Can you talk about your parents and your families, and also what they think of you here at Iowa, going to school, and your project, and what you're doing?
My mom is finishing her PhD in education. She currently, I don't know what she's doing. I think she quit her job, but she's getting her PhD right now. My dad's an accountant for a chemical firm in the South Side. My parents are elated that I'm in Iowa. I've been in Iowa for 6 years. I dropped out for 2 years to, for personal reasons. And they honestly didn't even really care that I dropped out of school. My parents were so pleased with the fact that they were no longer staying up all night wondering if I would make it home. They really don't care how long it takes me to stay out here. Obviously I don't want to be an undergrad for forever, but I like giving them that comfort. I know when I go home, like they really don't like it when I'm there. Not because they don't miss me, but when I go home, I go out with my friends, I kick it. I'm out till like 4 or 5 in the morning. And that's hard on their nerves. They don't sleep when I do that. They stay up all night, like wondering, is he gonna come home tonight? So I think they're happy I'm here. They're enjoying whatever I'm doing out here as long as it's here, not the city.
Yeah. My parents are in a very different situation, I think. My dad works for downtown for like the Blackhawks like practice arena or something like that. And my mom's worked in banking for like 16 years. And they, like a lot of people, like, oh, my goal is to go to college in high school. But my parents made it very, very known that my expectation was to go to college. So there was no like, oh, maybe. No, it's like, you're going.
Period.
And I went to a bunch of other schools before. Like I went to Miami of Ohio, which is if you took everyone in Greek life here, threw them on campus, and then gave them money, gave them their parents' credit cards, and just in Greek life ran the school. That's what it felt like for me every day. Like my third day there, I was called a nigger by some guy in a car, and I was like, oh, you gotta leave. And my parents were like, yeah, you're leaving. Like, you're not ready for that kind of reality, which is 2012 Barack Obama re-election. Tensions were high in Ohio, and then I went to art school. They were very happy I got to school at University of Chicago for art. I took that very serious, and then coming to Iowa, it wasn't really like they were happy or anything like that. I think they just kind of trust me at this point. They've seen what I've done. They've just watched. Like, we're sitting here, so it's just kind of like they don't worry about me anymore, I guess. But my parents are like, no hug, not really I love you kind of people. They're very tough. Yeah.
So about this project, you both said you've been working on it for many years, but now that it's coming to an end, there's been a lot of force on the deadlines, and you've had to think about and talk about a lot of issues that haven't been put into words before. So what has that experience been like?
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I think things that I talk about in this project are the things that I typically ignore. I think if I had to spend every day of my life unpacking what it means to be a black man in America, I'd be depressed. It's the exhausting existence. But I mean, it's also refreshing. Like Sonnie said, I feel like I have an obligation to do something. I'm in a unique position where I have a talent as a photographer and a platform to release this work, so why shouldn't I?
Yeah, I think for me, it's I think a lot, like most people do, but for me, it's like I have to dig up the old stuff, and then I'm reading stuff like my mentors are giving me. I'm reading stuff on the internet, what does it mean to be a black intellectual to a white audience? That's is this guy, I think his name's Chris Owen at Harvard. He's on the Harvard website. So I'm reading stuff like that, and then I'm like, so now I have to change like what I'm doing to palate to these people, this audience of Iowa. And then I'm also struggling with like being angry because it's a thing. Like, I'm in college to learn more, where I feel like other people are here at summer camp. Overhearing conversations like, oh, what are you gonna do for your internship? It's like, oh, I didn't get one yet. It's like, oh, are you still looking? It's like, yeah, if I don't get one, I work for my dad. You know, it's hard to like go back in your head, find those examples, bring them out, write about them, and then look at them some more, and then not find yourself upset. So it's like, yeah, it's like, so I have to go like home and meditate. Like I get in my chair, it's not this nice chair, and I have to like, there's a nice English accent on Headspace. He's like, now feel your feet. And I'm like, thanks. And I have to like calm myself down. Because like once I walk out that door, one, I have to live that life, and now I'm analyzing it all for this work. Because, you know, we're releasing in about a month, which is like the end of the school year. So it's kind of like, here you go, Iowa. Like this is, it's kind of like a review of some sort too. Yeah.
So I want to follow up with that and just ask, what kinds of things like this are making you angry and these feelings are coming out? Is it just a feeling that it's unequal or it's unfair, or that you wish that someone else could understand you from your perspective?
There isn't one thing that makes me angry. There's several things. I think most paramount of all those things is societally, we do not practice what we preach. We pretend to be this inclusive, integrated, beautiful, melting pot of America, and that's not the case. Like we don't like each other. We don't get along. I would be far more comfortable in a place where people told me how they really felt instead of pretending like, you know, I was really welcome here. I've been in Iowa for 6 years, and I've been told on several occasions that I shouldn't really be here, or how'd you get here, or you're not going to do anything when you leave here. And it's just like, is that because I'm black? Because it's definitely not because of my talent. There's a lot of different reasons I get upset, and yeah, I don't know the one thing, honestly.
It's a plethora. It's
everything.
Like we're lucky enough to be male.
Yeah.
And black. You know? So we have a lot on our heads, but imagine what the black woman has on her head. You know? And from what I've gone through, I've to relate to maybe both of us, it's like when I bring up something about race or slavery, and it's like, why can't you get over it? And I sit there, it's like, what's it? What is it?
More importantly, has it ended yet?
Right. Has it stopped? It has not stopped. So like those conversations are hard. And then also, you have this weird hedonistic culture at Iowa that's just full of just drinking and having a good time, and we can do it. And there's a reason why hookup culture is painted the way it's painted. Like we can't really be a part of that culture in a way, because it's hard. So being at Iowa is just constantly looking at everyone having a good time, and then you're just kind of like, and everyone being the large majority of students, like the 88%, was it 88%?
It's only 2% black, 20% right now.
Wow, so it's like a 90% white institution, and you just gotta watch everyone
95.
skip, 95, skip around and have a good time, and for the most part, at least the circles I've been in, have a good time and take their vacations to the Cayman Islands, and they talk about staying at the Waldorf, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I've done some cool stuff too, but it's just like the frequency, the constant frequency of like not even having to try that hard, because, you know, I got my nepotism card and my dad right here, and together I'm good, you know. It's just interesting. Like, I studied Greek life because of that reason.
That is what bothers me the most. The idea that these inequalities and differences only exist because of a lack of effort on my behalf. That is probably what infuriates me the most.
Oh, yeah.
I have watched my peers submit honestly mediocre work, mediocre assignments, put in the bare minimum effort, and be praised as these brilliant scholars and artists. Meanwhile, like I struggle to get out of bed because I don't really want to talk to you all about African Americans in America. And I still bust math on top of that, you know, on top of being black. And then it's just, you're not really trying. It's like, bro, I'm not sleeping. Where am I not trying at? Yeah. Meanwhile, you're out drinking on a Tuesday night at Summit. Who's not trying here?
Right. Well, yeah, my most favorite encounter, probably like this semester. So I get into grad school. I go to lunch. I tell my buddies. I was like, oh, yo, did you see Black Panther? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I saw it. It was great. And then my buddy, he's Indian. He's brown. And we're talking about like, these different ideas of like Killmonger being like being like Malcolm. And then the guy who's there, this white guy, he's like, Killmonger was a Tom. And I'm like, who are you? Like, do you even know what a Tom is?
Are you allowed to say that word?
And I was just like, so now, oh, sorry, white guy, you don't know what a Tom is, and two, you're gonna tell the black guy who's explaining the movie Black Panther to the other brown
Can you
guy.
explain what Tom is?
My Uncle Tom is a black man, a black woman that shucks and jives basically to fit in and appease the white masses. You know, you act outside of your character because that's historically the role you're supposed to play. Like when you see Django, Samuel Jackson played a Tom. That's what a Tom. You see Django? I don't know if you got that reference. He was a house Negro in this movie. Samuel Jackson was, and he was the master's second right hand. He did whatever the master said. And he would, why, yes, sir. Do what you said, sir. And it's like you're making a mockery of yourself in order to keep this person happy, basically.
Yeah. And he said Killmonger was a Tom.
Killmonger was the literal opposite of a Tom.
Killmonger went to arm all of the people, literally all African Americans,
With guns.
and go recolonize the planet.
So in situations like that, do you feel like you have to over-explain something just to prove your situation, your feelings?
Ooh.
I stopped talking. I no longer have an interest in educating those who don't genuinely have an interest in educating themselves. If someone approaches me like earnestly and trying to learn something, I'll gladly have a conversation. But I don't have the patience anymore. I've gotten into far too many altercations with ignorant people, and it's just like no. After last semester, I almost got in a fight outside of Airliner last semester with this white guy who was like beyond a bunch of racial slurs, and after that I kind of had to spin. I don't have the time. I can't go back to jail.
Same. I do something very different, actually. Like, if he's like, oh, he's a Tom. And I'm like, really? Are you serious? He's a Tom? Tell me. He's like, yeah, like, he was doing all this. I'm like, wow, I had no idea. Thanks. And, like, what did you think? Was it good? And he's like, oh, yeah, that, like, he's a Tom and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I leave, and I'm like, okay. So, the next time, he's going to do that again. He's going to screw all of that up, and someone's going to check him. Yeah. Because, like, why would I bestow my good education on this guy who doesn't even know anything? Like, why? I'm not about to do that. You ain't paying me. And you definitely don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to let you say what's wrong, and then I'm going to let some people check you. That ain't me, because I ain't got time for it today. And I'm just going to let you be mediocre. Still.
So I think this is a good place to wrap up with this last question. What do you think needs to be done, either on campus or within your social groups, for a better understanding and a better getting people to hear you out instead of you having to explain or having to do a project like this for them to listen?
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, it's too late for any generation that's older than 13. I don't think that anyone older than 13 is really going to be able to relearn what they've been taught already. We've already been taught, that black is bad and white is pure and good. That's textbook definitions. I think it starts with kids. I think it starts by actually teaching children full histories and not just the history America's comfortable with, and unpacking, the systemic problems people face and have to deal with. I don't think there's the end all be all. It's going to take years, generations. This project is just a step in me.
Yeah. It's interesting how like white is good and black is bad, whereas Yoruba culture, white is bad and black is good, and to change it.
Colors should not mean anything. Red, white, blue, yellow.
I think black people, we're a little tired. Like we do this. Like this is what we do. It's just like, okay, most white people, please come here. Look at this. Here you go. This is how we feel. Check it out. You don't Google it. We'll bring it to you. At this point, I'm like, yo, you should go Google this. Like, it's on the internet. We have access to every answer ever. Like, go do that. And and on top of that, it's not about what do we have to do, because the only people who ever remind me that I'm black are white people. 90% of the time, that's who reminds me my place in society. So I don't think it's really about what we have to do. It's more about white people have to stop talking about things they don't know anything about when it comes to like race, and a black person is literally in front of them. Like, all you have to do is stop talking and just take the microphone and say, here. They know what they're talking about. You know? Like my roommate, he wants to be a teacher. And he was just saying, like, man, I don't know how to get to my students. He was just like, I know, like, I can't tell them this. And I said, bro, you can't be what you haven't seen. So in that regard, he said, would you mind coming to my class and talking to the high school students? And I said, yeah. That's it. That's all it takes. That's it. Where he knows that his voice isn't as big as he thinks it is. Like, because if they see us doing this, they know they can do it too. Is that simple? It's just, it's just representation. It's more homey. It's more family oriented. It's just like, hey man, I see what you're going through too. Or like when we see another black guy or black woman on campus, we just collectively do the head nod, like, hey, you are here. I am also here. Good day. And we just keep going. It's that easy. It's just that easy. Yeah.
So the Daily Iowan traditionally has not published profanity, and we go back and forth on what is culturally appropriate or politically correct. And in this case, Josh, Sonnie, and I had a long conversation about the use of a word that means something different, I think, to them than to maybe you watching this or to me. So I'm not comfortable saying it. You guys are comfortable saying it, and there's a reason why. So I want them to explain what this means to them and how they use it in day-to-day context.
I don't know. For me, like, saying nigga, like, it's just a collective thing that it seems as though like all minorities want to say now.
Yeah. Why are Latinx people saying nigga so much now?
Yeah.
I don't. When did that become culturally acceptable?
No one knows why, but it's just like, it's just very interesting because I'm as a black voice in a space that is all white, and then they say no profanity. I'm like, oh, okay, F, C, B, S, all those, and then they say no N-word, and I'm like,
But that's the only slur on that list.
Yeah, I'm like, who said it? You can tell me I can't say that. That's just very interesting. Like, who's overseeing it right now? That's interesting. I can't say the word your people created that demoralized my people, and then we did the natural black resilient thing is to take that, flip it, make it cool, and profit off of it. Because every rap song got a little bit of it in there.
Hip hop has made that word probably the most single profitable word.
Oh yeah.
I have a problem with the use of the word nigga. To be honest, I mean, my parents don't like it as much as I use it, but I mean, it was never framed in my house as a derogatory word that shouldn't be used. Coming up with my friends and my guys, like if I told you my nigga, like that means you're my close friend, you're my brother. Like I trust you. It's a term of endearment in most cases. So I don't see the problem. It's really weird to me in these predominantly white spaces that they're uncomfortable hearing a word, but then like it's not really discussed the use of other slurs. Like nigga's not the only slur that's used, but it's the only word that's like it's a swear word. Don't use it.
Yeah.
It's like it's really weird.
And I think the thing about that word is like it's a collective sense within America why white people can't say it and like why black people can. And it's that the history of that word, when you throw it next to any other profane word, if you throw it next to F or whatever, there is not as long as a history as there is to nigga, nigger, niggas, whatever it may be. That history was created on literally killing, using, and tormenting black bodies. So when a white person uses that word, they don't even feel comfortable using it.
And what's the rapping?
Right.
They like rapping it.
Like the most ironic thing that I have ever seen on this campus yet was I'm in like the most American car ever. I'm like in a caddy, and one of my friends is driving this white dude. You know, he's like, like I'm a Republican. Like, this guy's a Republican, and like, Trump, whatever it may be. And then DNA comes on by Kendrick Lamar. And he's like, oh man, I love this song. And I'm like, wow. Like, the second verse of DNA is...
It's riddled with the word.
It's not only riddled with the word, but it's like, you don't even know what he's saying there. So, like, there's just, like, this collective, like, census where people don't even understand the history. Like, in America, we're taught to just sit down and take what we get. That's it. Like, for me, at least, that's what I've seen. It's like, here you go. Black history within the books. We're going to get you this 28-day long month. We're going to give you 3 pages on slavery. And we're going to keep going.
3 pages? You got a good book.
Right. And then we're going to talk about how strong America is and how we colonize things and taking things. And we won't talk about Christopher Columbus killed everybody and the Trail of Tears. And, one of the largest migrations of all time was black people leaving the South because of, I don't know, they were being literally tortured by the white majority down there. But then, you come to me and tell me, why can't I use the word? There's more of a problem why you want to use it than why you can't.
Yeah. The entire argument about the word nigga is stupid. First of all, it's a word. It has the power you give it. That's why I don't really bother me when someone says it. I'm more so concerned with the way you're speaking to me than the word you use. Like, dude called me a nigga outside an airliner. I wasn't mad he called me a nigga. I was mad he was in my face. Like, the nigga part didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I feel like white privilege allows white people to do whatever they want in America. Literally everything. Except for the word nigga in social settings and not be judged. And there's this, like you said, this need to complete that privilege. Like, I have everything else in the world. Why can't I just say nigga? And it's like, why do you want to say nigga? Why do you want to use this word that your ancestors used to tear us down, torture, rape, kill, strange fruit? Like, if you're really so liberal and, loving and caring, you should want that word abolished, if anything.
What is we talked a little bit about movies and that, but so hip hop and other music that caters to many people. Do you think that has something to do with it, and something to do with them thinking it's cool, so that they want to be part of it, part of that culture?
I think hip hop is the reason that nigga is now socially acceptable for black people to use. I think that the movement that made the N-word so successful and so commonplace was designed to make us comfortable hearing it, because at that time it was still being used to harm us. People still calling you a nigger, and it was still hurting people. People were still crying about that back then. I still know people that cry about it now. But now, I feel like the 80s and the 90s, like I hear that word, it's like, I think that was the whole point. But I think in that effort to, desensitize African Americans, I feel like we're missing something now. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this entire movie was to make us okay with this thing you were doing. And in that same effort, it made you guys uncomfortable using it. But now you're mad you can't use it and you want to use it again.
Right. It's very weird to me. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. None of it makes sense because you have it all. You have it all, and it's just like, like you have Jesus. Jesus is like the only Muslim person like that white people forgot was Muslim, I think, or something. I don't know. He was literally Middle Eastern.
Skin of bronze, hair of wool.
And
That's
like,
like the one man I know.
it's just like, you have Jesus. He has blue eyes and long blonde hair in every picture.
Sandy Brown.
Sandy Brown. And it's just interesting to me that like, that's not even enough.
Santa's white. Easter Bunny's white.
Everybody white. Everybody white.
I don't think there is any like mythical creature that we celebrate that's not white.
No.
Not in America, at least.
Oh no. It's just very interesting that like this word nigga is so important to white people, and it's just like, and then like they want to be cool. Like being black, like it's cool. Like I love being black most days because
I wouldn't change it, but it's cool most days.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it because it's like I'm part of something that's so it's resilient and like to me powerful. But you know the days where you know black men are getting shot in their backs, it's tough. But for me, it's just very interesting that there is a want to say this word from white people, and then there's always these like, oh, is it a rap lyric? They were singing along.
Yeah.
But then Hispanic people have this like new pass or something.
Who gave them a pass? There is no black delegation to tell you that saying nigga is okay. The next one of my white friends I get in the car with and you ask me, can I say nigga, or I really love Uzi, why can't I rap Uzi lyrics? I don't care. Like, no, it's not okay. Period. Stop asking.
Yeah. Just no.
Just stop.
It's like, I'm so sorry, there's this one thing you can't do. You can't say the N-word, for God's sakes.
I'm so sorry.
It's like,
People spent 400 years being oppressed, enslaved, raped, murdered, tortured.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is not say nigga, and that's hard for you.
Yeah. And then it comes to the institution. You know, we talk about freedom of speech. It's like, why can't we say it? It was like, I was 3/4 a person that was written, so.
Well, I don't know the history of it, but do you think that might have come from before it was a cool word to say, then when it was a negative thing, then people stopped using it and then just haven't moved past that, or do you think that's just because they're uncomfortable?
I don't know anyone that any black person doesn't like the use of the word nigga. I mean, there's a respect factor with your elders. Like, nigga isn't a curse word. You shouldn't really just be yelling at every 5 seconds around your elders. Like, aside from Bill Cosby, I've never heard any black person say no, stop using that word. Because, it's become culturally accepted. Like, it's a word. It has the power you give it. If we take away this power, it shouldn't hurt you anymore. And that happened for the most part. That was huge for us. For the most part, the issues that I hear about the use of the word nigga, is from white people.
I think
that's the only question I've had.
Yeah. I think the thing that comes to mind for me is like, around black people, we say it because it's just something we do. I feel like we wear do-rags because it's like for our hair. You know, we like waves because we can get waves. You know, we can do these things, and we can say nigga, which is like our cultural thing for us. You know, but within these all-white spaces, we don't use it very often because it's like we have to be palatable to the white people. It's like Chinese food. Like the Chinese food most people eat.
It's not Chinese
It's
food.
not. It was made in San Francisco to appeal to white people.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other things that you feel, whether it's the way you dress, the way you talk, how you interview, things like that. What changes between different groups you're in?
Oh my God.
I frequently water down my existence to make myself more appetizing to whoever I'm in front of. I think that being a black man, especially a black man from the south side of Chicago, like there's a predetermined notion of what kind of person I am. It is automatically assumed that I listen to Chief Keef, I gang bang, and I have baby mama. Well,
He's from North Side.
Nah, he was from Old Block. He out south. He lived in the North Side. He moved to North Shore when he got money, and they ran him out of the North Shore. Idiot.
Can we cut that out?
No, that's fine.
No.
I lost train of thought. I didn't want to start over. That being a black man in the south side of Chicago, there's this predetermined notion that I'm a certain type of person. You know, that I like drill music and I'm a gang banger. And I owe back child support, so I frequently water down my existence to make it more comfortable. I wear clothes I wear back at home. I speak in ways I wouldn't speak back at home, all because, if I say nigga or I slur the wrong word, it's, oh, he's exactly what I thought he was. It's confirmation bias. So I do everything in my power to prove to you I'm different, and then I'm still getting nigga anyway.
Yeah, and so you can't mess up either.
No, you can't.
You can't mess up. Like, I messed up once. Like, I was downtown at the bar, and white dudes, like, bumping into people. And I get this backstory later on, like, they're on drugs, they're doing all this other stuff. He's bumping around. I'm like, yo, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, oh, gas. I'm like, dude, chill out. His friend's like, you don't want to do this. And the kid cocked his fist back. In my mind, it's like, oh,
Let's go.
I guess we're gonna do this because, one, you're not about to just play me like this, and two, I've dealt with y'all for 3 years to get any encounters on the behalf of me. I swallowed that. Oh, you said the N-word a few times? Put that in that box. Oh, I've always been curious about what it's like to be with a black guy. Put that in that box. I love how y'all hair is. Put that in that box. And then just so happened this night, this black dude is in a bar, and a white guy bumps into him. And I'm like, dude, come on. And my box fucking burst. Because I deal with entitled, affluent, white men every day. Every day. And even if I wasn't in Greek life, if I was just on this campus, I would still deal with them. And it just set me off. So once you get that fist cocked back, and you're pursuing that person, and they're still walking backwards, and in your head, you're not thinking, he's fleeing, don't go after him. I'm that angry. I am that angry. Because I'm tired. I'm tired. I've been beaten down by this institution, by this town, for so long that I just said, fuck it. Where is he at? And the person you turn into, like Sonnie Studios, Stan Smith, Sonnie's gone. I said, where he at? Because I'm going to fuck him up now or later. He can pick. And he's running away. And I'm like, what you got to say? You had a lot of shit to say back in there. Come out here. Come over here. Oh, girl, that's my boyfriend. Fuck your boyfriend. Because he thinks he tough, and he's so-and-so, making so much money, and he thinks he's hot shit because he's wearing a suit in downtown Iowa City. I will whoop his ass all up and down his pet long.
It's a waste of money. A suit in Iowa City? Everyone.
And like that's what I live in. And then when I'm done being angry, when he's done being just a drunk asshole, I'm now the angry black man. So in my mind, it's like, yo, if I gotta be the angry black man, I should fuck him up.
Get your money's worth, man. It's gonna cost you.
Exactly. But now I gotta go back to regular Sonnie and say I would never actually do that. I think violence in this regard is unnecessary, and that these ideas of being an angry black man are systemic and they're within me. But I need to be able to hold myself accountable within this very white society that literally hates me and shoots black people at free will as if it's hunting season. I will hold that within me, and I will make sure I won't do it again.
Go back to the earlier question. You had me thinking about something. I think that would be the thing I struggle with most at Iowa. This notion that I cannot even experience my full range of emotions, because if I do, I then confirm these ridiculous stereotypes you believe me to be, and confirmation bias. I can't ever get upset. So I get upset that I'm an angry black man. And it happens like that, where, I spent all these years pretending I wasn't angry, bottling up my rage, venting to other black people. And then you catch me on the one day where I really wasn't feeling it, and I finally go the fuck off. Because, you've been fucking with me my whole life. My entire existence has been me trying to keep you happy. and I'll ask you don't bump into me and step on my shoes at the bar. But not every black man. It's just like, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
To spend your entire life saying, you know what, I can't even experience the full range of emotions because then I'm just an angry Negro. So let me just pretend like I'm fine, nothing's wrong. Let me just smile and purse my lips and pretend like everything's okay.
I'm gonna wear my Patagonia and my Rush fraternity shirt, and we're gonna have a glorious evening here at the University of Iowa. And I will go to grad school and maybe work about my city and about my friends, and so we can all live together.
It's ridiculous. At this point in my life, white people always ask, you know, what do black people want? What do you guys need? I don't want anything from white people except to be left alone. That's what's most paramount to me. Just don't talk to me. Don't bother me. Just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Let me get my degree. Okay.
Man, just let me be me.
Let me exist. That's what I want from you.
Like,
don't have the right to exist. Is that okay?
Right. And you know, like, not all white people are bad. You know, not all black people are bad. Not all black people are good. Not all white people are good. But there's a common theme where it's like there's always this one group that's always bothering me, and you know they turn out to be the bad white people. But even with the good white people, they're like, "Oh my God, I am here for you, buddy. Whatever you need." And I'm like, "Thank you. Like, I appreciate that. Like, it's good to have an ally. Like, you know, allies aren't all your allies ain't gonna be perfect. Like, I get that.
Are they really allies? Or are they saviors?
But then I question. I'm like, well, you know, there's an article in Jezebel that's like, I don't know what to do with good white people. It's like, hey, we're here for you. Let's do all this stuff. I'm behind you, buddy. Great. So we gonna break down the system and like try to make it more fair, and then it like kind of disappear. You know, like Black Lives Matter was about black people getting shot in public all around the country. Chicago.
Wait, stop. America's response to that, no. All lives matter. All lives aren't getting fucking shot in the street.
And then they're like, oh, okay, like, all right. Oh, look at that. And then the moment, like, black children are dying in Chicago at high rates because of gun issues. Where am I going with this? Black children are getting killed in their neighborhoods by gun violence, and then nothing's done. And then another protest happens where white children are getting hurt by gun violence. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we gotta do something about this.
Gotta get these guns off the street, man.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, the opioid crisis, dear Lord. Where was this urgency when heroin was in the black community? Is. Where's that?
There's this common thing in America where nothing's really a problem until it affects a white woman. Like, it's really sad. I don't even like the way I phrase that, but like, no one cares about Black Lives Matter. No one cares that kids are getting killed in the street. But these mass shootings happen, and these kids came out of class, and now it's an issue. But mass shootings have been going on for literally ever. Since we got automatic weapons, actually, there have been mass shootings. Why is it only a problem now? Why is it just now an issue? Why is the NRA just now being held accountable?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Josh and Sonnie, for talking today. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on our website, there's definitely more to check out with their photos and their story. So be sure to get the whole thing. And thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
Yes.
it's fun. Yeah.